The Kikuyu are a Bantu-speaking tribe that can be mainly found around the foothills of Mount Kenya in present-day Kenya. And for those of you who do not know, the term Kikuyu is an English variation of the tribe's native name, Agikuyu. Now, according to their creation story, Ngai, the one true God, created the first man called Agikuyu and placed him near Mount Kenya at a location called Mukuru Agadanga. And after giving him a huge share of land filled with rivers, valleys, and a huge forest rich with animals and fruits of all types, Ngai went on his way to the skies on top of Mount Kenya, from where he would usually observe his creation. Also note, before the 20th century, the mountain wasn't called Mount Kenya, it was called Mount Kirinyaga. European colonizers had a hard time pronouncing the word Kirinyaga and somehow ended up adjusting it to Kenya. Anyway, Ngai would usually go around the earth inspecting and admiring his beautiful creation. But one day, after realizing that Agikuyu was lonely, he took him to the peak of Mount Kenya and showed him the beauty of the land and all the animals below them. Then after taking in the beauty, Ngai proceeded to point at a spot in the middle of the country where many mugumo trees had grown and said, Go and build your homestead on that spot with a lot of mugumo trees. Oh, and by the way, mugumo trees is the Kikuyu name for wild fig trees. Back to the story. Before taking Agikuyu back to the foothill of the mountain, Ngai also said to him, "Sometimes you will be in need of my help. And when that happens, all you have to do is slaughter a goat for sacrifice, then pray facing the top of Mount Kenya and I will either send help or come myself to help you out with whatever problem you're having." Agikuyu went on to the spot he had been shown, and there he found a beautiful woman Ngai had created so the two could be companions. They got married and he named the lady Mumbi, which directly translates to molder or creator in the native language. Agikuyu and Mumbi went on to have 9 daughters, but they didn't have any sons. The daughters' names from the eldest to the youngest were as follows: Wanjiru, Wambui, Wanjeri, also known as Washira, Wanjiku, Nyambura, also known as Wakiuru, Wairimu, also known as Gadhigia, Waidhera, also known as Wangeshi, Wangari, and Wangui, also known as Waithiengeni. All these names are still extremely popular among the Agikuyu to this day. After the 9 daughters passed puberty, Agikuyu realized that there were no other men on the face of the earth to marry his daughters, so he turned to Ngai for a solution. He sacrificed the goat as he had been instructed, and after praying while facing the top of Mount Kirinyaga, Ngai appeared before him. He explained his dilemma to the creator, and this was his answer: "Go back home, take a lamb, and go to the shrine under the big mugumo tree. Make sure you're accompanied by the rest of your family, and your daughters must bring sticks that match their heights. While there, offer the animal as a sacrifice and pour its fat and blood on the trunk of the tree. Then ask your wife to make a big fire under the tree. After the fire has started, throw the sticks brought by your daughters in, and while the sticks and meat burn as a sacrifice to me, take your wife and daughters back home, then return to the mugumo tree alone. There you will find 9 handsome men who will be willing to marry your daughters, and your people will multiply and fill all the land." When Agikuyu did just as instructed and walked back to the shrine alone, he arrived just in time to see 9 men walking out of the blazing hot red fire. He took them home, and each daughter married the man who was the same height as she was. The 9 families multiplied and gave rise to the 9 famous clans to which all Agikuyus belong. The names of the clans have also been derived from the original names of the 9 daughters, but their pronunciation in the native language is slightly different. The Agikuyu pronounced the 9 clans as follows: Anjiru, Ambui, Ashira, Angashiku, Ambura, also known as Sakiuru, Airimu, also known as Agadhigia, Aithirandu, also known as Angeshi, Angari, also known as Adhekahuno, and Angui, also known as Adhiengeni. As you may already tell, these are simply variations of the original names of the 9 daughters. Another thing worth noting is the Agikuyu refer to one another as Andwanyumba ya Mumbi, which can be directly translated to people of the house or home of Mumbi in English. Also, as you may have noticed, this creation myth gets to explain the origin of the relationship between the Agikuyu people and the mugumo tree. To this day, it is still regarded as one of the few sacred trees across the tribe. Traditional Agikuyus even use it for sacrifice and libations during different occasions, such as epidemics, droughts, before planting or harvesting, and also at different stages of the human life, such as birth, marriage, and death. Before looking at the origin of death according to the Agikuyu, there is a second creation myth that first appeared around 1933 and was narrated by a missionary by the name Cagnolo. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. This second creation myth wasn't really shared among the Agikuyu, but it somehow made it into the Kenyan education system under the topic of beliefs and cultures of the Agikuyu tribe. As I said, the myth was narrated by a Catholic missionary by the name Father Cagnolo, who was known to use terrible insulting words whenever describing anything from the Gikuyu culture. For instance, when describing Gikuyu music in his writings, he had the following to say: "With a few simple bars of music, these young imps can amuse themselves for an entire hour."